Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting for the city of San Juan at 6 p.m. May we rise for invocation. Pastor Nuno, can you lead us in invocation, sir?
Is this the time to pray for the troopers?
Yes.
Father, we praise your name, Lord. We give you glory and honor, Father. The Bible says that where we ask in prayer, believing that we have received it, we have it. Lord, and today we ask for the complete and total restoration of the State Trooper Moises Sanchez. We pray, Lord, that he will recover completely, that he will come out of the ER and out of the critical situation, critical condition, and that you will restore his body, Father, completely. We pray for the family, Lord, bring peace to them. And Lord, tonight we pray for this meeting. We pray that you will guide us in everything that we do, Father, because these are your business, Father. Lord, we praise you and we give you glory. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Trooper Sanchez. Here we go. Thank you. Face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Under public comment.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff, members of the community. The first item that we have under the agenda is under presentations, presentation on recognizing Department of Utilities staff competing at the Texas Water Conference 2019. This past weekend, I'd like to bring Mr. Davis Salinas over to the podium and the staff. But this past weekend, we were at the, and I'm saying we as staff and Commissioner Ramirez, Commissioner Guajardo joined us at the conference. And it's always nice to see our staff competing amongst others within the, not the Rio Grande Valley, but up and north. I think we were the only one again competing, representing the valley, if I'm not mistaken. From last year to this year, at the competition, I know that last year was the first time. I'm not taking anything away from you, Mr. Ramiro, but last year we had a total of maybe 4 minutes as far as the completion time. This year was shaved off another couple of minutes, so we came in at 2 minutes plus seconds. It's a tremendous accomplishment. But Mr. Salinas, you'd like to add some more stuff?
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to introduce the staff that actually competed this year. To my right is, of course, Ramiro Ramirez. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to attend the conference this year because we had an emergency, so we had to stay back and deal with that. But, of course, Julio Bazan, this is the second year he competes as part of the team, and Salvador Mendoza is the first year as competing as a team. Last year it was Ramiro and Julio who competed. So this is our actual competition team that will continue to train throughout the years to compete. Ram is the coach, and the other two are the members that assemble the team. Julio assembles that top bonnet on the fire hydrant you see here in the interior, and then Sal assembles the body, puts it together so Julio can assemble it. They did very well this year, considering it's the second year. The next closest person out of the valley, team out of the valley, is, of course, Eagle Pass. We're in the same Region M for the area. And I've issued a challenge to the rest of the utilities that were out at the conference last year. I issued it again this year to try to get more teams from the valley to compete, not only in the fire hydrant hysteria, but also in the tapping competition, the meter madness competition, and maybe into the operator competition that they have. I've also issued a challenge, if it's an issue for utilities, to send a whole team out there. Maybe we can do a regional team of the Rio Grande Valley, since we all are members of the association down here through the Citrus or through the South Texas Water Utility Managers Association. We do a lot of, the utilities down here do a lot of work down the valley. They're professionals in the area. They succeed very well. Fortunately, we're not very good at patting ourselves on the back, and I think this is a well-deserved recognition for the staff who's out there every day working, and they actually had some fun doing this, and they have improved. Their fastest time in practice and training was 1 minute and 53 seconds. We hope to get it down to where the winner of this year's competition was at 1 minute and 21 seconds? 23 seconds. So we'll be there. Next year we'll be there. These guys are telling me they're going to get there. They're going to get better. So I appreciate you all taking the time to recognize the staff. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
In appreciation, we purchased some plaques. Ms. Cavazos, can you bring them over? And maybe, if you like, we can take a picture with this gentleman along with the plaques.
You guys want to take a picture up in front next to the fire hydrant? Coach, get up here.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And you know, Mayor, Commissioners, the word was that now there's not an excuse of us being out there spending 4 or 5 hours when they can do it in 2 minutes, putting the fire hydrant together. Okay, so anyways, congratulations again. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is presentation and proclamation of proclaiming May the 2nd, 2019 as National Day of Prayer. Mr. Dr. Nuno Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor Garza, commissioners of the city of San Juan. My name is Dr. Nuno Rodriguez, and I am here representing the Coalition for the Greater San Juan. The National Day of Prayer was created in 1952 by a joint resolution of Congress and signed into law by President Henry S. Truman. In 1988, the law was unanimously amended by both the House and the Senate and signed into law on Thursday, May 5, 1988 by President Ronald Reagan. Consequently, the first Thursday of May was designated as the Day of National Prayer. Since 1952, every president has signed a National Day of Prayer proclamation. Prayer, just like we did early today, praying for the trooper, and I actually forgot to include our first responders, which we always include in our prayers, but prayers is important, and it brings people together. Prayer builds bridges between opposing individuals, including political parties. Prayer reminds us that we are created in God's image, and His desire is that we represent Him everywhere we go. The theme of the 2019 observance on Thursday, May the 2nd, will be Love One Another, based upon the words of Jesus in John 13:34, which says, love one another just as I have loved you. Love can change America. and love can also change San Juan and improve it. From the church house to the state house and all the way to the White House, we need to learn to love one another. Therefore, on Thursday, March 2nd of this year, 3 weeks from now, joining our great nation, the Coalition for the Greater San Juan will be working in partnership with the City of San Juan to celebrate the National Day of Prayer. Our National Day of Prayer will be conducted in front of the City Hall from 11 to 1, just like we did last year. We will have a time of praise and worship and a time of prayer for our nation, our city, and our beautiful people of San Juan. The Parks and Recreation Department will be preparing the facilities for the event, and the entire San Juan community is invited to participate and support the Day of National Prayer. Thank you.
So at this time, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation under the National Day of Prayer, May 2nd, 2019. Whereas America was founded on the principles of our faith in God, and throughout the history of our nation, we humbly prayed for guidance and comfort were need since the nation. And whereas the club saw the need to establish a beauty pageant so that young queens in San Juan will have an opportunity to become role models, help build character, self-esteem, make history in the community, and whereas prayer, regarded by millions as most important for mankind to communicate with God, to carry out God's will, and whereas across our nation on May 2nd, Americans unite specific times in prayer for our nation to acknowledge our dependence upon God, to give thanks for the many blessings our country has received from Him, to recognize our need for personal, corporate renewal of our hearts, to invoke God's blessing upon our leaders, and ask God to heal and unite our country. And whereas on Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, the City of San Juan joins National Day of Prayer for our nation, the City of San Juan and its people, and whereas the virtues of prayer reflect a common bond, hope, inspiration, sorrows, fears, remorse, resolve, thanks, and joyful praise and love. We're asked to take a moment today, commune with God, to pray for guidance for our leaders and peace in the world. Now, therefore, be resolved that I, Mario Garza, the power vested in me, Mayor of the City of San Juan, along with Mayor Pro Tem Pete Garcia, Commissioner Jesus Jesse Ramirez, Commissioner Ernesto Neto Guajardo, and Commissioner Lenny Sanchez, hereby issue 4th day of April 2019 this proclamation. Thank you.
The next item on the presentations, tonight we have the presentation of departmental reports, which is the Department of Planning and Zoning, Department of Parks and Recreation, San Juan Memorial Library, and Department of Sanitation. Before we start with the questions, I'd like to bring Mr. Patrick Willingham over to the podium, introduce the staff that is here from the PSJA School District. They will be talking about our Earth Day that will be held April the 23rd this year. Mr. Patrick.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission. In my report, I included an upcoming event that we're going to have on Tuesday, April 23rd, which is our Earth Day event at the wetlands. Today, we have some guests from PSJISD, Ms. Belinda Vargas, Mr. Allian Williams, and a few other staff and students. And we're going to give you a brief presentation on what has gone on over the past few years, and I guess what are some of the vision and goals that we have in our partnership with PSJISD to continue to improve the wetlands area and to make it a really nice destination for people to visit while they're in the city of San Juan. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Ms. Belinda Vargas from PSJISD. She's with the CTE department.
Thank you for the time. I want to introduce some of our staff. Ms. Stephanie Mendez is one of our CTE specialists. Then we have two of our teachers, Ms. Diana Clark and Ms. Karina Duran. We have two of our students from our PTI, and then we have Mr. Alan Williams that works with our gardens. Earth Day is Monday, the 22nd, but we're going to celebrate it the 23rd. And it's going to be from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. there at the San Juan Wetlands. And this is a tentative agenda. We would like the mayor to welcome everyone, all our students. We have students from all the different campuses. We have 4 large high schools, and then we have 3 other ones, so it's a total of 7 high schools. And then we have assignments and passing out of supplies, engage the community in student activities, cleanup, community gardening, and gazebo painting. And if y'all look at your folder, in the back, it'll tell you garden bed planting, gazebos, we need to sand them. We've had them there for several years, but now it's time to sand them and then paint them, remove weeds around them, the litter cleanup. We put them in bags, and then you all send them and you weigh them, and then San Juan has always had a big cleanup. We have old tires that are out there. We recycle them, and the students go ahead and paint them. And I'm very glad to say that I've been working with several gentlemen, and over here is Mr. Jaime, that I worked with him for many years. Thank you for the opportunity. And also, next to him, I have also worked with Mr. Roel, so thank you very much. And now with Mr. Patrick Willingham, with Mr. Ruben Guajardo, and Mr. Ruben Rodriguez have been doing a fantastic job. Ms. Stephanie and I always start out with a walkthrough, see where it's at, to see what we need to do on Earth Day. We were in awe because it is so clean compared to the past, and you'll see some pictures right now as to when we go and the weeds are about this high. So they have been doing a fantastic job. We want to continue it whenever I'm in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, and I say I'm from San Juan, they go, oh, the shrine. Well, I would like for them to say San Juan, the wetlands, and the shrine. We have a beautiful park. It's a gem, and people just don't know about it. Okay, so we are trying very hard to continue partnering with you all. I passed by, well, that day we passed by, and Stephanie and I were like, what is that? They had put the tires out there that the students had made the year before, and now you pass by and it attracts you. And this is what we need, attraction. More people to San Juan, more people to visit. I mean, there's people all over that come to Santa Ana Refuge. Well, why not to the wetlands? I mean, it is really, really great what we have there. We're planning to clean up the bridge and also make some wooden turtles. And this is our wood shop, and this is just a small sample. And I'll tell you the size of them. It's huge. So we have a portable out there now. We're going to start classes there hopefully in August, and we would like for it to be attractive to our students. We're going to start with high school students first. And Mr. Allen, would you like to talk a little bit about the native plants?
Very briefly, education is highly important. The loving one another, living within God's will, obviously is way up at the top. And I fully believe that God's will is for all of us to be good stewards of our environment. And what the opportunities are at the wetlands is a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate that good stewardship to the environment and teach our students about the importance of the environment. Not only that, our new Hidalgo County Judge, Richard Cortez, has basically asked the mayors within Hidalgo County and the city commissioners to be very proactive in engaging ecotourism as a part of bringing in revenues to the valley. This came from Quinta Mazatlan. Can I pass you up this? I can get you more of them. I just happened to be out there a couple of days ago. On that card, it is a blue bunting. That bird showed up at Quinta Mazatlan within the last year. Everybody that found out about it, and this is the beautiful thing, you as city commissioners, y'all don't have to do a thing. It's just one birder or one naturalist that comes out there and gets the information out. So they started tracking all the people that were coming to Quinta. What are you here for? We're here to see the blue bunting. Where did you come from? How long are you staying? Where are you staying? Where are you eating? They tabulated it all up, and literally it came out to about $1 million of revenue that came into the valley. A lot of it focused on the city of McAllen. About 2 weeks ago, I was at the FAR Hub Fest last weekend, and there is a biologist that works at Estero Llano Grande, John Yoakum, and he said, hey, I was out at the wetlands, and we saw this, don't quote me, claw-toed damselfly. I was like, really? I've never heard of it. And he said, yeah, it's really rare. So I got a call from a lady that Chris McKee, that's a master naturalist that was out there also, and she sent me the information. She's coming back in the spring, and she wants to help set up programs out at the wetlands. So there is a national organization that's coming down in July that's meeting, that's bringing their entomologists down. They want to come to the wetlands to see if they can find this very rare damselfly. So even though it's very, very small, don't underestimate its role in our stewardship opportunities and the financial revenues that it can bring to the city. And in addition to all the educational opportunities that we have with our students and helping Judge Cortez and really developing an ecotourism industry down here in the valley. So sorry for running over, but it's very, very critical that everybody understands that. Thank you. Ladies?
So
Sorry.
So here's one of the gazebos, and you see pictures of our students painting them. And then we've also planted some trees. Next. And then here you see the turtle. It's really going to be big. It's like 24 inches tall and 30 inches long. And what I'm saying is we need to attract. So this would be something that would be attractive. And then the reason the teachers are here and the students are because they're very creative. They do a lot of stuff. And so we want to have the portable. We want to have a theme, maybe Earth Day every day, and every season for them to change the inside so that when our students go in there, that they can see the difference from coming from a classroom to going out there in nature and actually learning the science over there. For next year, this is what's happened in the past and what we're going to be doing. For next year, we would like to have birdhouses, and we do have birdhouses over there that our students have made, but we want them to be more creative and maybe have a competition, and the day of the Earth Day next year, 2020, we can award the first, second, and third place winners, and we would like to have some kind of little area of real nice creative birdhouses. You want to pass these around? Here are some big pictures also. You can give them to the commission. And this is something else that we would like for next year. Those are just posts. Our students know how to lay bricks. This can also be another outside classroom. And it's also very attractive when you go to all these parks that they have all these things, but they're done from natural things. We have our welders that could do the dome. So we are really, really looking forward to even doing this and more. I know we've done in the past, but we want to do more for the city of San Juan. This is also a classroom that would be outside. Like I said, it's going to be high school only, but maybe in two years we will have middle school and also elementary students, and this would be an outside classroom. You can see the door there, and it's bamboo. We have some in 2 of our schools where we can get the bamboo from. And then those chairs are carpentry classes. They can do that for our students, and they can actually sit out there, enjoy the fresh air. And the best thing that I've seen from our students is that they're not on the phone. When they're in school, I mean, they can't put that thing down. If I'm out eating at Chili's, Applebee's, or whatever, they're always on the phone. Well, that day of Earth Day, you're going to be surprised because they are not on the phone. If they are, they're taking pictures. So this concludes our presentation. Again, we are all very proud to partner with you all and continue partnering with you all. If you have anything else that you would like for us to do, we have all kinds of students that are willing to help, willing to intern, and just let us know. And Mr. Patrick has our email, he has our phone number, he can contact us. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I'm curious, in reference to the outdoor classroom, what's the dimension on that outdoor?
We can make it as big or as small as we want.
Okay,
It doesn't matter.
okay. And we do have one portable out there, right?
We do have one portable out there.
Because I remember when we were, having meetings with the school district, at one point we had mentioned, I know we're taking one step at a time, but we had mentioned bringing in another portable down the road, make the classrooms bigger. Is there any talk on that still, Mr. Williams?
Yes, there is, but I think we're really waiting to show Dr. King and the school board what we've done with that one.
Great,
And then
great.
once we show that
Yeah.
we're being productive, we've got a neat educational program, then I think they're very open to going back and saying,
Okay,
hey,
yeah.
let's consider that second one out there.
Okay, wow.
And we're thinking of maybe every month, like the first week, PSJ can go, PSJ students. The second week, well, it can be North. The third week, it can be Memorial, and so forth. Then the last week can be Southwest and some of our other schools. We also have ambassadors, and some of you might have seen them. They have on jackets. They're very professional. Well, we would like to have ambassadors for the wetlands. And of course, they're going to be wearing like camouflage or something that we can come up with. Our graphic students can come up with a T-shirt, and they can welcome the people there and show them what it is that they're looking for. So that's forthcoming. This is what we're planning, and I hope that you can approve of all that and give us any suggestions, or we're open for whatever.
And we tie it back into the partnership with Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, Texas Parks and Wildlife. They all support it. They just need to see that we as the city are committed to doing what we can. And I thank you, Patrick, for that it really has changed up. As a matter of fact, when I talked to John Yoakum from Estado Llano Grande, he's like, wow, I couldn't believe how clean and how nice the wetlands were. So he was very impressed. But then it's just, when they go and get the word out, they're like, the San Juan wetlands? What's that? Where's that? We don't know where it is. So just something that's very visible on the front, and we at the school district can help out with that interpretive signage, that recognition, so people will start knowing that they can come in, that there is a visible designated parking place, and they can see kind of where the trailhead is, and then they kind of have an understanding. And our students are very, very good at creating some really neat graphic interpretive signage. And so then it would become, to me, the partnership is if the city has funds to purchase the signs, then we've got the talent to create the signs.
Mr. Guajardo did do a walkthrough through all our different machines that we have at Baloo, and I told him, especially where the bridge is, I would like our graphic designers to put everything there. When Stephanie and I were out there, I'm like, okay, well, is that a pelican? Like, I wasn't even sure myself, right? She goes, a pelican? I'm like, well, I don't know what it is. I said, this is why we need to have graphics so that when people come, they're wondering, what is this? We don't know what it is. So,
And the ambassadors would also be trained on
Yes.
species identification.
Yes. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Any other questions for any of the directors?
If I may.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Escobar. No se esconda. How's it going with the occupancy permits? I know that you all send out letters and are going out to visit.
Yeah, we sent out 250 letters, and they're coming in. If you see in the packet, you'll see the different actual businesses that have come in with the breakdown as well.
And the breakdown only includes the ones, of course, that have renewed their permits,
That have
correct?
come in, yeah, exactly.
Was it not being enforced, or what was the case in that?
They weren't sending out letters, but now we started sending out letters. But also with the code enforcement, they're going to the businesses, as well as the health permits. When they go in there, they're talking about the occupational and the health, so they inform them about both. So
Okay.
they're starting to come in.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Mr. Garza, I know that they implemented a new schedule for the brush pickup and so forth. What are we doing to promote and also to advise our citizens of the change of dates and or locations, or where they're going to start?
Really haven't implemented yet the new schedule, but what we're trying to do is do a thorough cleanup of the whole quadrant before we move to the next quadrant. The previous schedule called for moving to the next quadrant every 2 weeks. Well, the way we're doing things now is we're making sure the whole quadrant gets picked up, then we move to the next quadrant.
Also, another concern that is brought upon us is the illegal brush dumping. You know, I know subdivisions are supposed to put their trash in front of, or actually their brush in front of their residents at a certain time and date. Obviously, with the new implementation of the dates, we'll address that issue. Now, these residents are actually putting brush on thoroughfares, on the roadways like Sam Houston, big roads, and actually they're taking them out of the front of their house and putting them in front of somebody else's house. Now, what are we doing to promote and actually advertise, actually educate our subdivision owners of where to dump their brush versus going out somewhere else and dumping it there?
Well, we have a code enforcement officer assigned to the sanitation department now. We have a legal form now, so we're gonna be following our crews. And if he sees any situation that, I just described, he will educate the resident on how to correctly follow. And he's been doing that this past week, once we got him the.
Chief, have we gotten those cameras to monitor who's dumping?
We are doing some patrol in those areas, and we are looking into adding some technology so we can capture those individuals that are dumping in those areas that we have designated already as illegal dumping areas.
Roel Garza, with the new trucks, moving a little bit faster, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One back in the shop, the check engine light turned on, so it should be back on the road tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great.
Those trucks were, as soon as they get filled up with trucks, it will correct the jams and axles, so that's, having the process, expediting the process a bit faster.
Okay. My next question is to Mr. Willingham. So how many kids do we have after all registered? That's great. Got a lot of kids here. Great. Very good.
The last game scheduled was 4:30.
But you were able to use the different fields, right? You use Austin Middle School? Yeah. Great. That's great.
So will you be able to use the junior high fields throughout the season?
Yes.
Okay.
Requested them and approved by the school district.
Great.
So we'll use them there as well as in Atlanta. And by May, we'll be playing at the municipal park. We'll be using 8 fields.
So now that we're looking into upgrading and getting the parks in municipal, can you see that maybe we can have year-round baseball for baseball and softball, now with those 2 additional fields?
Yes, we'll participate.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions?
If I may, we're gonna go?
Some of the teams are playing outside also, right? Not only on San Juan.
In FAR, yes. We ended up with FAR now.
So I know my daughter's playing today in McAllen.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 14 and under, yes. The 14 under girls are playing in the county. That, as the subdivision, we just didn't have enough, so we have to play with other local cities. And the 14 girls is the one who's
Mr. Willingham, just food for thought. The event itself was awesome. I mean, you had a lot of kids out there, a lot of volunteers, a lot of parents. But maybe in the next event, I saw that our Parks and Rec Board was sitting in the back. Maybe you can sit us side to side with the commission, so where they get the recognition as well, because, I mean, it is your board and it is part of our city. That's one. And I also saw that our school board members were not in the field itself. Being that we do partner up with the school district and with the county, maybe we can make sure that they also partake in it, just for the next one.
We are borrowing their fields.
Facilities,
Their fields.
exactly. Yeah, we want to make sure that their
Partnership is there.
See, yeah, no, I know you did. Yes, I know you did. Yes. Mr. Garza, I know that I sent Mr. Arjona and yourself an email regarding the potholes on Wyoming, and I got two different messages, right, from that email. What is the status on that road after all?
Matter of fact, there is a irrigation right-of-way. We contacted the irrigation district, and one of the things they're saying is they're looking into ways to see how they can help us out with that. There may be like an interlocal that we need to put in place. As a matter of fact, Mr. Lopez called me earlier today, but I was busy doing something else, and I haven't had a chance to call him back. But I'm going to call him tomorrow first thing in the morning to see what is it that the options are.
Okay. And then you'll bring it back to us,
Yes,
please.
I'll do that.
Thank
Also,
you,
as a
sir.
matter of fact, I'll send you all an email.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Garza, what's the status on, I know that I talked to you and you said about the county giving you some mulch for the area for the shop? The million. Okay. So that will help you for the area where it doesn't get so muddy and the vehicles and the employees' vehicles are also, especially when it rains and you got all those holes of mud. Okay.
No. Under public hearing ordinances, conduct a public hearing and consider accepting petition for the voluntary annexation of the proposed Hacienda San Fernando subdivision being out of Lot 7, Block 9, and Lot 5, Block 13, John Clausen subdivision of Porciones 71 and 72, as per map recording in volume 0, page 4, map records, Hidalgo County, Texas, located approximately 1,000 feet of Nebraska Avenue along the south side of Moore Road.
Mayor Commissioners, this is for the voluntary annexation. We're having the first public hearing of two, which is a requirement. It's located on Moore Road between Nebraska and Stewart. It's 18.45 acres. They're petitioning for voluntary annexation because they want to do a subdivision, and since they're next to city limits, they're required to voluntary annex. After this public hearing, we have to have the service plan agreement where they're going to have to sign, which shows, that they'll get police aid, fire, it's a listing, building inspections, planning and zoning. So that's something that it's an agreement, it's part of the annexation. So at this public hearing, if there's any comments, the public can do that at this time.
With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open it up at 6:39 p.m. Is there anyone here for or against? For or against? Any questions from the members of the commission in regards to this matter?
If I may, Mr. Escobar, I know, like you said, it's voluntary annexation. How fast do you think they're going to be moving on this? The only reason I'm asking is I don't know if we're going to provide the services, correct? Do we have the trash bins, trash containers to accommodate the
Yeah,
residents that are going to be building there?
They're going to probably submit the subdivision plat pretty quickly, but then they still have to build the homes and build the streets, so there's still time to order that, because they'll have to get the water and sewer accounts. They're going to put the taps, brush, trash, all that, so it's going to take some time. They have to put street lights as well, so, but that's at the subdivision stage.
So for sure, by next budget cycle, we should be okay.
Yeah, I'll get with Roel and David.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Do we have a number of rooftops or actually lots that we're going to be in there?
It's going to be 73 lots.
73 lots? Okay.
60 by what? Maybe
60 by 130, yeah, the lots. So it's going to help for property taxes, water bills, things like that. So it's
We have all
a
the
plus for the
infrastructure.
city.
We have infrastructure in that area?
What was that?
We have the water infrastructure? and-
Oh, yes, water and sewer is in the area.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and close this at 6:41 p.m. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
All right.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
you.
The next item, Mayor Commissioners, I'd like to, for your consideration, maybe have them together. Let me read the first one. The only difference is the number, the 2019 and 2019A, which pertains to the rehabilitation of the wastewater plant, and the other one, 2019A, that's the lift station. What it says is consideration and approval of an ordinance authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of City of San Juan, Texas, Waterworks and Sewer System Revenue Bond Series 2019, and the other one's 2019A, providing for the payment of the bonds together with certain currently outstanding previously issued bonds from a list lien on and pledge of the rent revenues of the city's waterworks and sewer system, resolving other matters incidents relating to the issuance, payment, security, sale, and delivery of the bonds, including the approval of an application to the Texas Water Development Board authorizing the execution of paying agent registrar agreement and an escrow agreement complying with the requirements of the depository trust company letter of representations, complying with the regulations promulgated by the Texas Water Development Board, and providing for an effective date. As you recall, this is an item that was giving we applied for $11 million of assistance, of which $3,060,000 was awarded as a loan forgiveness, or what we call as a grant monies. Today we have Mr. Chris Vela here with us to give us a presentation. Our bond counsel, should there be any questions, and also our engineers, should there be any questions from you. So if like, we can start with a presentation on the plan of finance. I know there's some good news on the interest rate, but we have, yes, it dropped a little bit. So, Mr. Vela? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I know how concerned you were the last time. Mayor, members of the City Commission, ladies and gentlemen, staff, my name is Chris Vela with Hilltop Securities, financial advisors to the City of San Juan. I want to take you back, before I start on the presentation, to September, when we were authorized to submit the application for funding by the City Commission. And at that time, we came to you and with a preliminary application plan of finance. And the interest rate that we quoted at that time was 206. We came back in February with the plan of finance, with the finalized plan of finance, and we brought to you an estimated interest rate of 212. And I know that the mayor brought up the question of the timing between that date and the actual pricing, which was going to take place today, and what would happen to interest rates. So this presentation will address that and what actually happened, and of course the summing up of the question of the actual loan forgiveness on both projects. So on page 3, I don't know if you have a handout or, but it's up on the screen there. That's on the second page, I believe. If we can move it back. To page 2. There you go. Okay. The City of San Juan, Texas, applied to the Texas Water Development Board for financial assistance and received approval on February the 4th of 2019. The city will fund the following projects. The city applied for a total funding of $9,207,000 under the Clean Water State Revolving Fund to fund a rehabilitation of an existing wastewater treatment plant. Out of the total funding, the TWDB granted $2,562,000 of loan forgiveness. The city financed the remaining difference for a total of $6,645,000. The city applied for a total funding in the amount of $2,213,000 under the Clean Water State Revolving Fund program to fund the rehabilitation of lift stations and force mains. Out of the total funding, the Texas Water Development Board granted $498,000 of loan forgiveness. The city financed the difference for a total of $1,715,000. Now, what does all of this mean in terms of the loan forgiveness? The total loan forgiveness granted is $3,060,000 of the two amounts combined. Out of a total $11,420,000 financial assistance provided by the Texas Water Board, which is equivalent to almost 27% of the total cost. The loan forgiveness represents debt service savings in an estimated amount of $3,867,000 at the interest rate provided by the Texas Water Development Board for this program. What that means is if you had to finance the loan forgiveness, which you don't have to finance at the current interest rates, that would be the total debt service over the life. So tremendous savings for the city. On page 3, the city will sell $8,360,000 waterworks and sewer system first lien revenue bonds to the Texas Water Development Board for the remainder of the cost. The city will offer a pledge of a first lien on the net revenues of the waterworks and sewer system as sufficient security for the repayment of the bonds. The bonds are structured with level debt service payments, no utility rate impact or negative debt coverage implications are projected by the issuance. The city received an equivalency subsidy of 1.65 from the TWDB Clean Water State Revolving Fund. What that means is that from the MMD scale that they used, there was a reduction from that scale of a 165. That is what the subsidy accounts for, and it results in the lower interest rate. Rates have come down. When we were here last, you can see that the current MMD scale is a 426. When I was here back in February, that number was a 469. So you can see that rates have gone down. Now, what has accounted for rates coming down? There's a couple of factors that have accounted for rates coming down. One of them has been the lack of supply in the market of municipal bonds, number one. And the second reason, and another very important reason, is the fact that there's been a lot of inflows into bond funds or available monies to purchase municipal bonds. So with the lack of the supply and continued influx of money week after week after week, it has led to interest rates coming down, and we have seen that. On page 5, you can see that for the existing wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation, the project cost is $9,207,000. The principal forgiveness of $2,562,000, or loan forgiveness, if you will, and the amount that will be financed would be $6,645,000, and the interest rate, the subsidized interest rate, 1.29%. That is a very, very, very good rate. Mayor, I hope that's. I was very pleasantly surprised when we got those rates that day. The first interest payment, 1/1 of 20. First principal payment, 1/1 of 20. Final maturity, 1/1/49. Average annual debt service, $263,283. And on the lift station, $2,213,000. The grant is $498,000. For the par amount that will be financed, $1,715,000. The interest rate on that is 1.29% as well. Same payment dates, average annual debt service, and the coverage is 1.83 times. Very solid coverage. The next page, on page 6, is a recap of the numbers. On the par amount on the wastewater, starting on the left, $6,645,000. The loan forgiveness, $2,562,000. Total sources of funds, $9,207,000. This is the amount that's available on the combined loan and par amount for the construction. That's what will be available. For the project fund, $8,990,000. The loan origination fee for the water board, $114,000. Financial advisor, $43,000. Bond counsel, $46,000. Attorney general's fee, $6,000. Issuance costs, QSIPs registration, $913. Paying agent, $400. Fiscal contingency, $5,120, for a total of $9,207,000, which matches up to the total sources of monies that are available. On the right-hand side is the lift station project. $1,715,000 is the par amount that will be financed, with loan forgiveness, $498,000, for total sources of funds of $2,213,000. Project fund deposit, $2,125,000. Clean water loan origination fee, $29,000. Financial advisor, $26,000. Bond counsel, $26,000. Attorney general's fee, $1,700. Issuance cost on QSIPs, $913. Paying agent, $400. And fiscal contingency, $2,398, for a total of $2,213,000, which matches the total amount of the sources. Moving on to page 7, the cash flows. Remember that these bonds are secured by the net revenues of the system. These are your audited net revenues of the system for fiscal year 2018, audited numbers starting on column B. You can see that the numbers are $1,819,000, and we hold them steady. We hold them constant from day one, so there's no growth in the numbers there for conservative projections, if you will. The debt service for the outstanding senior lien water and sewer in column C, the outstanding water and sewer revenue geo debt. In some cases, we appropriated a tax pledge to support some of this debt that was done in the past, and we account for that debt as well, paid not necessarily from taxes, but from water and sewer funds, from the net revenues as well. So the total outstanding system debt, you can see on column E. Then you can see the debt for the sewer plant on columns F, G, and I on the green, and you can see the debt service that's associated with that. The lift stations on the maroon box, and you can see the debt service associated with that. For the new estimated total water, wastewater, and sewer system rate debt service would be column L. The surplus cash flow after the repayment of the debt, after all of the debt service, the aggregate debt service coverage, and then the water and sewer revenue debt coverage for water and sewer debt only. On page 8, schedule of events, City Commission approves resolutions requesting financial assistance, completed. Texas Water Development Board approves financial assistance, completed. City Commission reviews TWDB 19 funding program plan of finance, completed. City Commission directs staff and consultants to move forward with funding program, completed. Deadline to submit draft bond ordinance, legal documents, timetable, distribution list, private placement memorandums, preliminary numbers, et cetera, to Texas Water Development Board for review, completed. Pricing of the bonds, completed. If tonight TWDB provides the final interest rates, that was done last week. And then City Commission to approve bond ordinances authorizing the issuance of the 219A and the 219B water and sewer revenue bonds. Closing and delivery of funds to the escrow agent on May the 9th. That's when the city will actually receive the monies. Any questions? I'm sorry, sir? That's very good news. Thank you so much. At this point, I'd like to introduce Arnold Cantu, bond counsel, with some of the legal documents that he will also explain for the board.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Arnoldo Cantu with Norton Rose Fulbright, bond counsel to the city. I have nothing further to add on the financial side. I apologize, Mr. Arjona, for making you read that long list of items. So I think I'll just sort of, for once, go over what all those mean, right? These two ordinances are authorizing the sale of the bonds to the Texas Water Development Board. We are pledging to pay from a first lien on the revenues of the waterworks and sewer system. So after you pay operating and maintenance expenses, Water Development Board has the first claim to that, right? We're also authorizing a paying agent registrar agreement. That means that we are contracting out the responsibility to pay the Water Development Board semi-annual interest and principal for a nominal fee. They send us an invoice, we send them a check, and they assume all the liability for missing a payment. So this is a way that we protect the city. We're also authorizing an escrow agreement. Water Development Board, by their own requirements, do not just give us the money, magically. There are some strings attached. So they keep the money in escrow, and as their project completes, the engineers and the construction companies have invoices which they deliver to Water Development Board, and those invoices are paid periodically by the Water Development Board from the funds that we were delivered on the date of closing. Between today and the date that we close and have funds delivered to the city's escrow fund, we'll be going back and forth with the Attorney General. Mr. Arjona and Ms. Cavazos have 2 document packages filled with documents that will need to be signed by the mayor, the city manager, and city secretary, and I will need those as soon as possible. There are also 2 other items which I don't know if you'll be taking on next or not, but Water Development Board has asked for 2 separate resolutions regarding the principal forgiveness, which I believe, Mr. Vela, will you be presenting on that as well? It's good news. To be quite honest, in my short time doing this is probably the best outcome that I've ever seen for a Water Development Board financing. So I think it's a testament to the city staff that works so closely with financial advisors and engineers who have been doing this for their lifetime, so I'm happy to play a small part in it. Do you have any questions for me on the legal side?
This is to do the sewer plant, right? And the wastewater plant, we were not in compliance with TCQ. That's what we had workshops, and in those workshops, Mr. Cruz, the engineers, kind of guided us what we had to do and gave us a direction, because we had to be in compliance. And the TCQ acknowledged that we had needs, so that's where we started. So I just want to recognize the engineers that have done also work, and before, and some of these other people, there's a lot of people involved in getting this grants, starting. I remember those workshops here and the discussion, how much we needed and where to go for and how we're going to get the money. So thank you, Mr. Cruz, for a great job also, because I know that you have a lot to do with this. I know the bonds are sold by the attorney and the finances looked by Mr. Vela. And if any changes come in the future on finances, I want to make sure that Mr. Vela is there guiding us on this item, so thank you very much.
Yes, and again, before we continue, yes, I want to thank and acknowledge everybody that is here. Like you said, Mayor Pro Tem, our bond counsel, our engineer, our financial advisor, but also our staff, utilities, finance, that did a tremendous work in putting all this together. But thank you again for, I don't know if there was any other city that received a grant loan forgiveness, but I want to say that the city of San Juan was probably one of the only ones here in this region that got the grant for $3 million. I mean, it seems like from 11 to 3, it's maybe not a whole lot, but it's 27% of the whole amount of money that we applied for. So kudos, thank you so much for that, and again, appreciate your work.
So move.
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
The next item under discussion and possible action, I got discussion and possible action to accept the City of San Juan Sanitary Sewer Collection System Extension Project, Texas Water Development Board, Clean Water State Revolving Fund, project number 10441 is completed as per plans and specifications, and authorize city manager to execute all project closeout documents, final pay application number 10, and all related documents. Ms. Salinas?
Good evening, Mayors, Commissioners. I am glad to report that the project for the first time sewers and sewer extension in the City of San Juan is finally complete. A final inspection was conducted of this City of San Juan sanitary sewer collection system, and also a Texas Water Development Board Clean Water SF project 1041, and the project has been determined to be successfully complete as per plans and specifications. The one-year warranty for the project actually started on January 25th of 2019. We also have a certificate enclosed. We gave the certificate of substantial completion to the contractor at that time. We have received the final pay application, has been reviewed by the city engineer and approved. I have also reviewed the final pay application and approved it as well. We also have received the all bills paid final affidavit from the contractor stating that all the bills and all the contractors that they've used have been paid as well. The final pay application is for the 5% retainage that we currently are holding back from the contractor to verify everything was completed. At this time, we are recommending approval as presented. I do have the city engineer here if you all have any questions about that project.
Just before we make a decision, how many hookups that this included?
Hookups, do you remember? I think it was 105, 109 total, something like that.
And 5 homes
Yeah.
that took advantage of that first-time sewer.
Yeah, we actually, the original, I think it was 105, but we did add a little bit more as we were doing the project. We found other houses that hadn't been included originally. We requested authorization from Texas Water Development Board to connect them, so we connected them. We also did make a couple of changes along the way to leave areas prepared for other houses that we weren't allowed to connect, but they'll be able to connect in the future on their own. In fact, I met with a customer today who's asking for assistance. I will be talking to city managers to see if there's anything we can assist to connect them at this time. No problem, Mayor.
So moved. Aye.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action of ordinance number 2019, authorizing the erection of stop signs at the intersection of Cesar Chavez and Ridge Road. Where's Mr. Escobar? You want to come over? I know that we had had some incidents or accidents in this intersection. We were approached by a lady that came over.
Yeah, there's a
and,
request by some of the neighbors in the area that there's a lot of cars speeding by and that there's been some wrecks, so the city looked into it. We got a police report. I guess in the last 5 years, per year, about 9 crashes per year. So that's, it's kind of high for that area. Also, if the city is looking to put those stop signs, it'd be on the north and the south side of Cesar Chavez.
Two-way stop?
Yeah.
It will be converted to a four-way, right?
Four-way, yes.
Converted to four-way.
Yeah, four-way stop.
East and west?
East and west are stop signs, and then north and south. I don't know if Chief, you have anything to add, or? Okay.
Is there any speed limit signs there,
It's 30 mile per hour.
but further south?
Yes, there is. I don't know what the distance is, but there's one there.
There's one, or there's?
I'm sure there's several. If you drive down the way, you'll see more. But I did look, and there's a 30 mile.
There is one just north of, south of it, south of Ridge in that area, going into that particular neighborhoods there.
And that's the only one?
And there's one.
There's one up on the north
Yes,
side.
that's correct. That's
So it's
correct.
total two?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way that we could try to put some kind of blinking light so people can know?
We'd have to put a be prepared to stop, and then further would be the actual stop sign. And then we'd have to let the public know, put on Facebook, send out a public notice just to let the public know. And then you give them time before you actually.
A lot of people are not going to be used to.
Yeah.
And before, people would drive fast there, but we had a lot of potholes. Thanks to the Commissioner Cantu that has done the paving there, it looks a lot better, but people now drive a lot faster.
Exactly.
And, and there's a line that becomes on Ridge Road from the school from right there close to elementary, so McKeever. So people are waiting to pick up their kids, and there's a line there, and there's traffic coming. That's why they're asking for the stop sign. So anything that we can do to alert the people that now we do have a stop sign there, if it gets to approve, so people can know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We're working right now with Texas also on Cesar Chavez and Stewart. We're gonna put more signage there. The motorists are using the southbound lane to go northbound, and that's, so we're gonna put some more signage tomorrow already. They're gonna put some. So that created the issue on Cesar Chavez and Ridge because of that construction right there. And I think that we need to make sure that I was talking to Ms. Escobar, that the public needs to be aware because that was a two-way stop sign intersection. So we put a four-way stop sign intersection there. We need to make sure we're educating because all the people that are common knowledge that that's a two-way stop sign, they might not stop, even if they see a stop sign. And we've seen that happen before, so we're going to monitor it with patrol officers, make sure that we monitor it like we've been doing, Stewart, to make sure that there's no accidents there.
Chief, we have a marquee maybe that we can put out there that connects with the flash and say, upcoming event, which is going to be a four-way stop in the near future, where we can actually, the motorists that are passing by the corner, residents that come from Alamo, because I know they use Alamo, and some want to drive that road to get to Express Road, which is faster than Alamo Road. So do we have a marquee in the city that maybe we can start putting something, implement something? Of course, if it passes today.
Yes, I think that we need to check with Public Works, but we can put a speed trader there as well. And we can reach out to other agencies that have a marquee. We can, advise them they can put it out there. It is important. That's a very high-traffic intersection, by the way. It is a very high-traffic intersection.
Now is that we got Stewart Road that they're working on, and if you go through Stewart, you see people one side paved, and people think that the one that's paved can drive there, and the one that has caliche they can drive in the same. And last time they were just honking at each other there, but it's creating people because a lady that complained uses Stewart Road. Now she's using Cesar Chavez, and this people that are from Stewart are going to Cesar. That's why it's become a lot more issue right now. And now I know that it's going to settle down a little bit when we got Stewart complete, but still we have had accidents before, and it was not the first time that we have gotten complaints on Cesar Chavez and Rich.
We have in the 18-wheelers issue there as well. So they come in northbound, and it's hard for them to make that turn there, so they're coming into the subdivision on West Ridge. So people are complaining that some of the 18-wheelers are going through there, so there's nothing we can do much there, but we just, trying to divert that. How's that?
One is matter.
Excuse me, Commissioner?
Especially like, if they're using Stewart, they go to other roads like the residence owner, do we have anything in place that states that you cannot?
No, they're just a truck route that they're following themselves, we're trying to get with TxDOT, see if we can reroute them, but our officers reroute them at times, we stop them and they say, well, there's nothing on the south side indicating that there's construction going on. When they come up on Stewart and Ridge, they gotta make you a left. Yeah. Yes, and it's real hard for them to also, 18-wheelers cannot go through that small area on that, on Stewart Road, it's too small. I mean, it's too small of the width is not there for them to go through, so they're taking a lot of,
I know some cities have implemented ordinances in reference to no truck routes inside subdivisions or inside the smaller roads. Maybe we could look into something like that, like that,
Well, we do have one that you cannot go into, we do have, you cannot go into subdivision unless you're picking up or dropping. That's a standard state law as well, so, but, we also warning them, of course, they aren't aware of what's happening, but.
But the issue is because of the construction of Stu Road.
Yes, that's correct.
And they have not given them another direction where the tour to. Yeah, an alternate route for them. Yeah.
They did say that within the next 90 days, you might have some completion there on Stewart. So, I mean, they're moving fast, so I don't know. That's what I've been told. I mean, hopefully, it's going to take a while there. It's just very inconvenient for the residents. And we see it there right there, when we leave, we just try to put an officer there to make sure that people, even though they say no through traffic, they're still going through, so it's real hard to
I
stop.
believe they had told the director for the bus transportation that they're going to be, it's hard for them. That's why they try to use the right side, which is going south, because they're having problems with the transportation with us dropping off kids on that area.
We did make a recommendation that they can close Stewart, and so that subdivision has a north side and an east side exit. They can go into the city, but still we got a lot of traffic coming in southbound, the traffic from Alamo and our area, they still got to access that area. So
Yes.
it's an issue there. But yes, I just wanted to share what Mr. Escobar said, that the action report, accidents we have so far in 2019, we had 5, 2018, we had 9. That's on the intersection of Ridge and Cesar. And 17, we had 8, and 16, we had 9, and 15, we had 9. So just a quick stat there. The average about 8 or 9. Yes, hopefully less, every year. But it just, the thing is that there's no light in that intersection. That is the issue.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item under discussion and possible action to approve the work order number 1 to Javier Hinojosa Engineering for engineering services for the City of San Juan Police Public Safety Building, the parking lot in the amount of $8,500. Now, as you recall, we talked about the additional parking spaces at the police department. We placed this item on the agenda not knowing what the estimate was going to be. Before you have it, I passed it out. It's a spreadsheet. We're looking at about more or less 122,000 total cost turnkey on that additional 20 parking spaces. However, I think it's a little bit kind of high. I'd like to maybe reconsider that and maybe allow us to go out for RFQs, look for another engineer, or maybe he can submit another one, and then come back to you and see what the cost would be versus one and the one that was here before. The reason we chose Mr. Hinojosa is because he was the original engineer that did the public safety building. However, like I said, the cost on the parking space we feel is a little bit high, so I'm asking for maybe allow us to go and RFQ this particular project.
In this case, you want a motion to table it, or?
Yes, table it, maybe allow us to go for RFQ.
Okay, so you can bring it back at the next
Yes.
one? Okay.
Now, as far as the parking lot there at the station, are you looking on the east side of the building, or you're looking on the south side of the building?
No, we're looking at the west-south. Yes.
I see some of the
Yeah, they're parking there for now, but the additional parking area that they were looking into, additional parking spaces is on the south side, on the west side.
Behind the building itself.
That is correct, Mayor.
On the side.
You know how you have those
Yes, so we added those because the space we have up front, so we just added that area temporarily for now, so they can park there.
I thought that's where you were.
No, we want on the west side, south side. So at 20 additional,
Behind it.
the west side parking. Yes, it's southwest.
Legal counsel?
Table it and RFQ.
Legal counsel? On this one, is there another way to make a motion, so, because we're actually refusing the bid, and if we table it, we're going to bring it back into the next meeting, so what it would be to go out for RFQs instead of accepting this bid?
Yeah, well, you can do that, or you could just take no action, because right now you don't have it listed as an RFQ. You just have it, you have action with regards to the work order.
No action.
No action on the item.
Next item, discussion on human resources employment background check process and procedures for the City of San Juan volunteer staff. Today, we have a couple of gentlemen here. We have Ms. Doctor and Mr. Alaniz. Mr. Patrick?
Good afternoon, Mayor Garza, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, Commissioners, Mr. Juana, City staff. My name is Mark Alaniz. I'm the chairman of our Parks and Rec advisory board. With me, I have Dr. Stephanie Alvarez, my co-chair. Our purpose for being here today is we'd like to see if we can streamline and help improve, obviously, our Parks and Rec department by making a lot of suggestions that we've done, and we've worked really well with them so far. We've come quite a distance in a lot of the changes that we've made, but there's still room for improvement. I should say the system is by no means broken. There's nothing wrong with HR, anything of that nature. We're just looking to tweak a few things to kind of, like I said, try and streamline the process a bit. A couple of those procedures that we'd like to do, which have already been voted on by our board and passed unanimously, are, for example, our first one is our background check process, which obviously is extremely important for us and for our kids, because we're entrusting the kids of our community to the coaches. So obviously this is something that's extremely important. The issue that we're having, though, is the time frame that it takes to run these background checks. For example, we've had issues where coaches want to come in and they fill out the documentation, they bring in everything correctly. The problem is that it'll be 6 months, 4 months, et cetera, before their application gets processed and they're given the okay. By that point, the particular sport that they wanted to coach has passed. And this has happened, unfortunately, more than once, when in reality the process takes minutes, if not seconds, to check whether somebody has any issues on their background. Now, in our last meeting, we spoke with our director, Mr. Willingham, and Mr. Willingham does have experience doing this particular task in his previous employment with our neighboring city. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to ask our commission to see if we could possibly send Mr. Willingham and or Mr. Guajardo, our assistant director, for any sort of certification that they would require by the state, by DPS, in order to have them run it. And this would allow our coaches to come in and be able to get processed and push through at a much quicker rate. As it is right now, one of the biggest issues that not just San Juan, but all of our neighboring cities have is being able to grab coaches, new coaches. As it is, a lot of our coaches come in, their kids coach, and it's fantastic that they come in and they donate their time to us, but more often than not, their kids get older, they get into high school, and the parents stop coaching. So then, we're hoping to get new coaches come in, and when there's a lot of red tape, if you will, and making it difficult for them, a lot of them lose interest. And I have personally gone to, and I make it a point every year to go to randomly stop by different practices, different sports, and just to make sure that, the coaches are, working with our kids correctly and things of that nature. But while I'm there, I have noticed a couple of times, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but fortunately or unfortunately, where parents are, stepping forward and trying to help out the coaches. At this point, this is where I come in and I speak to our coaches and explain to them, look, You all are the ones who are in charge of working with the kids. Even though the parents mean well, they haven't had their background check. So for all intents and purposes, they really can't come in and help you coach the entire team. I mean, they can do whatever they'd like with their child, obviously. But as far as the city goes and liability goes, the persons who have the background checks run is our coaching staff, and they are the ones who should be the only people directly working with the kids as a group. So with that being said, that's one of the couple processes that we'd like you all's approval on, as far as allowing Mr. Willingham, Mr. Guajardo, and Mr. Guajardo, I'm sorry, our assistant director, to see if we could get them certified so they could in turn run these background checks and get them done at a much quicker rate. Oh, absolutely, please.
I just want to add, what the key point to all of this is that right now, the volunteer situation is that it's an HR process. The applications are being run as though it's an employment, instead of just being run as a volunteer check. So they require a social security card, for example, and a criminal background check, an extensive one. So for example, if I want to volunteer at a school, I don't go through an HR check, right? It's a different type of process, so when you go through an HR check, it's much more lengthy and time consuming. You have to fill out an application, you can only use a blue pen to use it, you have to print out the colored application, for example, and you can only do this during work hours, for example. Literally, I mean, I don't have a color printer at home, right? You have to have a colored image of your driver's license, so it's very lengthy. That happen forget the financial part, but just from a community part, I mean, it would be heartbreaking. I mean, I know, I was going to say Coach Garza, because you've coached, you know. I mean, that would be so sad to me to see that happen. So it's just about moving it from out of HR into a Parks and Recreation process, and even if it wasn't, just that it's not a Parks, and to do the industry standard. You know, so that's really, I think, the key here.
So again, what we're asking the commission, and once again, this is something that has been voted on unanimously by our board, is once again to see if you all would allow the background checks to be done in-house. By in-house, I mean by Parks and Rec, to see if we can get rid of the process of having to print out a color copy, making our coaches go through that expense. Providing a colored social security card on there as well. There's children, you know, who don't necessarily have the luxury of having a social security card, and I don't think we should punish them from not being able to use our facilities, to use our Parks and Rec program. So once again, this is something that the board is humbly asking this commission.
Yeah, I do. Also, the asking for the social security card deters people from applying also, and it's not asked in any other place also. It deters people, one that may not have one for whatever reason. Sometimes they may be undocumented. Some people just don't have the paper card. But also people just have a fear of releasing that information to people, and it's not necessary for a background check. It's only necessary to get paid, and we're asking for it because it is an HR process. So it's not necessary for a background check. So I don't know if Patrick had anything to add to, or if you have any questions for us.
The only question I have is, what process are we using? Because obviously we can't use CJIS through the PD, so what process are you all?
I know he's used different.
What we're using currently, we have an application that has been given to us from HR.
But you also got to where?
And we submit it to HR.
And HR does?
They do the background, and then they'll send it to me, letting me know these coaches have cleared, these have not cleared, or they're.
What system do we use, Ms. Cordero,
Go ahead.
to submit for background?
Pardon me.
We use DPS, the DPS system, so we get audited through DPS. And what they do is they do require a valid Texas driver license, even for volunteering. TML, our insurance company, also requests that we use that system. I understand their concern about it taking long, but 4 or 5 months is not correct. I mean, we have a log of when we receive them and when we send them out to the department, to Patrick. And they're only sent out to Patrick, basically telling them we're cleared or we're not cleared. So as far as the system is concerned, it's DPS. And they require a valid, even for a volunteer, a volunteer driver's license. The question is the Social Security. The Social Security, we've mentioned to Patrick. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Social Security. It can be something that has your Social Security, because the question has been brought up before, and we've had this discussion, Mr. Arjona and I, based on, I believe, the concern from Parks and Recreation. Their concern was the delay. So we said, okay, you know, if they're going to bring in a driver's license, sometimes on the background, it won't give you a driver's license or it won't give you a date of birth, but sometimes it'll give you a social. So we told them, if you want to produce something with the social, that way we don't have to be sending it back that's incomplete, have them produce it, so we don't delay the process. So what we do is we exit out and discard it. Because the Social Security is not necessary, and that is correct. We use it just as a form of not delaying the process. That's what we do.
Not necessarily delaying the process, but pinpointing the exact person you're running a background check.
Right.
Because Juan Garcia, how many Juan Garcias?
And that's the example that I always give, Mayor. Juan Garcia, Jose Gonzalez.
And so when you run a social on it,
Yeah, you get,
exactly.
exactly. And we use it for that
Now, let
purpose.
me ask you this. You said you mentioned DPS, right?
Mhm.
Now, is this a TCIC, or do you also run an NCIC on there? On the
It's-
backgrounds, the national crime?
No, not the national.
It's
no.
just Texas?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Now, my second question is, as far as, I know they're asking for Parks and Rec to run the checks out of their department. Now, DPS, when it comes to background checks, they're strict. They're very strict.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of red tape in order to run a system through wherever. First of all, they're gonna have to go through the whole process applying for it. Not only that, DPS is going to have to come over here and they're gonna have to observe the locations where they're gonna be running the.
And you get
background.
audited. I get
Exactly.
audited. So what they do is they ask for
So
your documents.
what I'm trying to get at is, have we researched and found out to see how long this process would take to even try to run background checks out of Parks and Rec? And nothing's
I haven't done
guaranteed
that.
either,
Right,
Am I correct?
right. I have not researched that. Patrick had mentioned it to me, that the board, the Parks and Recreation
Mayor,
Board.
and if I may, I wouldn't recommend that only because of the confidentiality that we get back on those backgrounds. So I think this is more strictly human resources, whether it's a volunteer, paid employee. I like to keep that at the HR and not necessarily at the department, only because of that reason.
Pardon me. No problem. Pardon me.
Background check versus going through HR. If I'm not mistaken, Jesse, I know you and I have been in the baseball system for quite some time.
Correct. And if I can add one thing, I'm sorry, pardon me, Commissioner. As the former president of the American Criminal Justice Association, our local chapter, and a former federal officer, I can tell you firsthand that it is not that, there is red tape involved, but it is not that difficult to be able to run background checks firsthand. And I know that a bunch of other cities, in fact, our neighboring city, two of our immediate neighboring cities don't run it through HR.
I would like to see, and this is for discussion, let's get some of the cities and how they're doing it, and come back, because we're not going to vote
Yeah,
on
because
this.
I mean, also remember, there are multiple sports organizations that are not even involved with cities, you know, and I'm still not about, and this is also, even if it were run, let's say, through HR for some reason, I mean, there's things that can be eliminated, like the Social Security card, which is not necessary at all. I mean, that's widely, you know, even the public school system doesn't require the Social Security card to volunteer. The issue of printing it in color, the issue of using only one color ink to fill out the application. Right, okay. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, those are things that no other athletic association follows, right? So,
As far as I know, that census does not allow for us to do for the city, we have to do strictly law enforcement still, right?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. What
I
HR
don't
is doing.
understand
That is the right process to do.
the actual application being in color, for example, because I personally have, like last year, my daughters are in middle school and they go to middle school at Liberty. So I coached their thing in FAR and their application is black and white, right? I've coached for McAllen Youth Soccer Association and theirs is black and white. So I don't know why it has to be in color. You know what I'm saying? So these are like standards that are unusual, particularly for volunteering. And, you know, I think they're just maybe mishmashed here because of two different categories that we're talking. Something doesn't mix. And I volunteer for the schools and the same thing, right? It's very difficult for the people who want to volunteer is what I'm trying to say. And we have people that want to volunteer. And we're making it very hard instead of making it easy for them, which is the opposite. Of course, we want to protect the kids, but what I'm saying is that we're making it harder than anybody else. And the schools take safety of the children. That's like their number one issue, is to protect kids. That's all they do, right? That city does want to do that, but this is like not what this is not what the city does for, like, that's not their number one occupation. And so I don't understand, at least there we have a model, right? And I just want to encourage us to look and think, how do we want to model? Do we want to be like pushing people away or bringing them in?
No, I think so that we need to bring us some more information of what other cities are doing, and if the requirement is in color, let's see how we can get it here to the library where we can get all people, the facilities where they can get the applications and get them in. But let's, you know, if there's something that we're doing too much, because I know that we need coaches. I saw how many kids they have, and I know that there's going to be more growth for next year. And we got to get prepared and see how we can help accommodate people that want to volunteer, because not everybody wants to volunteer, but at the same time, we got to think about the process and how we can work, at least look at it and see how we can become better.
Try to get the Parks and Rec to run the checks. There's a process, you know, and I can't answer you that, but I think that's something that we can look into, you know, and see what it takes to, you know, but like I say, nothing's guaranteed either. DPS can easily say, I'm sorry, but you already have HR and you have the PD running backgrounds on individuals. You know what I'm saying?
That is absolutely correct, Mayor. And, you know, we just wanted you all to see if you could entertain that. The biggest thing that DPS requires as far as that goes, and something that was brought up a second ago, was what's done with those applications. And I know, I understand Mr. Arjona's concern. And obviously, we would have to have some sort of secure area, for example, a locking filing cabinet that only one person would have access to. So, I mean, I don't know whether that's an expense, and if it is, I'm pretty confident that this board would purchase it should we not have it for Mr. Willingham. and Mr. Guajardo, pardon me. But other than that, I can tell you from experience that it is a process. There's no issue with that, but it is not one that I would see that would hinder San Juan from being able to do that in-house to our Parks and Rec department. And, and other cities like Florida, for example, where they would do it and San Juan wouldn't be able to. It's not logical.
Yeah, we're going to be using DPS, you still have to follow the same policy.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's look like Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, the rest of the commission said, let's find out different avenues of how to make it easier and quicker, make sure we make it more effective, of course, if they hold our price tools, possessions of our kids, and that's priorities in our city, safety for the kids, right? But I do agree, it was a long process, because actually, I actually coached here, and it took a while, and I was like, I'm a police officer, right? But it took a while for me to get my background cleared.
Well, there's a lot, fortunately, we have a lot of teams, and there's a lot to process, which is a good thing, right? So, I mean, I hate to say, push you all on this, but do we have a timeline in front of us to when this might be discussed? It's good, I don't know, I know in my job I like to say, do we have a timeline? Because if not, it kind of goes on and on. Because the next time we have sports is in the fall, right? So I think we want to have this ready to go for volleyball and football so that we don't have to scramble. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Mayor Commission, what I can do is I can visit with some of our neighboring cities and get their information, and then I'll bring it back to you all as far as what maybe Edinburgh, FAR, McAllen, Mission. I'm sorry? Yes, yes. So I know that one, and I can see what some of the other cities are doing, and then get together with my staff, and then bring back to you,
Mr.
findings
since you
and
were working
maybe
in
some
FAR-
recommendations.
Since you were working in FAR, what is the system you all had over there? Did you
So
all
I
go through
got
HR or-
certified through DPS.
Oh, DPS.
And then to do volunteer-only background checks. So they went through our office there at the Parks and Recreation.
And how long ago was that, sir?
I've been here about 3 years, so about 3.5 years ago. And then, but since then, I had been, back in 2010. So maybe there's been some changes, so I can follow up. Yes, every so long, we had to retest on some things, and we would get audited. DPS would come into my office and ask for my files of who's been background check, who's been done on, and make sure it was kept in a secure location. And then after a certain amount of time, then you have to discard of them properly. It could be as well. I'm not sure, but what I can do, like I said, shred, I believe. I don't even remember. I would take them to City Hall and have them do it. We had a process as well where there was a designee, any records in the city went to that person. And I believe it was shredded a certain way. I don't know if they had a company or. We had to keep them on file for X amount of time. But I can get, like I said, some feedback from some of our neighboring cities and what's going on, and then present it to you. And
Well, I think my advice to you is just go straight to the source. Go straight to DPS and just figure out and see how this can
okay,
all play out.
I can do that too.
So that way, we don't waste time and see what, we'll see what they tell us.
Well, we have to establish a policy, if I'm not mistaken, of using a safeguard those documents.
No, I'm just saying the process.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm saying, it's just the process.
Yeah, you can go to the process, but also go to those neighbors, Parks and Recs, and
Right.
find out exactly how they're doing it. So we can,
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll do both. I'll do both. Thank you.
If I could just add one real quick thing, 10 seconds real quick. I just want to say that before I got brought onto the Parks and Rec Board, which by the way, it's been a blessing and I've been honored by you all, that you all entrust me with the children of our community. I had the honor and the pleasure to coach for 9 years, and 7 of those years was under Mr. Garza. And I just want to say I'm, as a citizen and again, as the chairman of the Parks and Rec Board, I am thrilled that he is back with the city of San Juan. So thank you all very much for your time. God bless you all.
And thank you for, for bringing this up, because I know that, you know, you're trying to help the parks and get those kids out there and those coaches. So thank you for your time.
The next item under contractual resolutions, consider amending the resolution authorizing the submission of an application under the 2020 Local Border Security Program solicitation to the Governor's Office Homeland Security Grant Division. Mayor Commissioners, this is the same identical application. The only difference is that it was submitted as 2019 grant cycle instead of the actual dates on that. So that's going to be the only change that we're amending on that submission of that letter.
That is correct, Mr. Rana. Mayor, Commissioner, I present here Sergeant Rodriguez. You all know Sergeant Rodriguez. He's one of the silent leaders here in the PD. He's the one that runs all the grants as to exactly what gets submitted, what gets approved or not. So any 10-minute, 15-minute, or 30-minute, or hours, or whatever hours it is, he's the one that submits the report to the state, and he's the one that's always on top. So I just want to thank him for all the work he does, and in San Juan, keeping us in check with everything we do. Make sure that all our grants, Stone Garden, Border Star, Homeland Security, everything that he does. So appreciate the work he does. So if you have any questions on the Border Star, he's the one that submits information.
Yeah, so basically, let's start off. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and City Manager. City Manager explained, this is just an amendment that we had, it had already been approved. We sent it up to Border Star for the grant, and they sent it back because prior year, we always put just a year, 2017, 2018, 2019. But now they require the specific start date and the specific ending date. So this is what we have it here in front of you for, just to reapprove that so we can resubmit it back to the grant on the Border Star. For this coming year, we're going to get a total of an increase of $10,000, total of $103,000 for the Border Star overtime to work for the border security. $3,000, I believe, is for dispatch OT to assist dispatchers while officers are working the Border Star hours to enforce the border security within their city and other perimeters of the city. Okay.
Well, first things first, Mayor, thank you for your patience, because I know exactly what it entails. I know the things, kind of the problems I had. You sent something, they tell you, no, you missed this year. So actually, if it starts in January, September 1st, it's got to give you the cycle, so I understand what you're coming from. Wow, it's a lot of long hours in this, I know that work. So if anybody doesn't know what it entails, it entails a lot of time consuming, and he has a lot of due dates, and I thank you for doing this, because he doesn't get paid the overtime to do the paperwork, just to let you guys know. So, right?
Correct.
And now we can get administratively, so even if he has to stay after, he doesn't get paid overtime on the grant, so.
What you define the way?
We talked about that.
Thank you, sir.
I'm joking. With that being said,
Question, I have a question for legal counsel. Will we have to rescind the vote, the previous vote, or we just approve the amendment? Because it had already been approved, and they're submitting it for an amendment.
Oh, no, because it's
Amendment.
already, it
So
says
that
amending,
would-
so
okay.
so this
All
will
right.
be okay. So
Okay.
you don't need to rescind.
Motion to approve, Mayor?
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last two items, item B and C, again, this is a contractual resolution. So for your consideration, we can vote them on together. This is consideration approval of a resolution approving the principal forgiveness agreement, Clean Water State Revolving Fund in the amount of $498,000 and an escrow agreement relating thereto, authorizing the mayor and/or city secretary or their designees to execute any and all documents related thereto, and also the consideration approval resolution approving the principal forgiveness agreement, Clean Water State Revolving Fund in the amount of $2,562,000 and an escrow agreement relating thereto, authorizing the mayor and/or city secretary or their designees to execute any and all documents related thereto and other matters in connection therewith. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Commissioners, again, Arnold Cantu, Norton Rose Fulbright. These two resolutions authorize the principal forgiveness agreement, the agreement between the city and the Water Development Board, by which, as you can see, a total of $3,060,000 will be granted without the expectation of repayment from the Water Development Board to the city in furtherance of the projects that were laid out by Mr. Cruz and our financial advisor. No such thing as a free lunch. There are some strings attached. The main string being we have to use these funds for the actual projects that we applied for. And if we run out of eligible expenses, we have to give the money back. So we know where the first money is going to be paid out of, right? That's going to be the first funds paid. Again, I think the resolution will speak for itself. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Under resolution, under B, is there a motion?
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under resolution C, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Last item on the consent agenda, we have one item, consider second and final reading of an ordinance for the conditional use permit for the sale of alcohol beverages for the off-premise consumption at East Lot 360 drive-through, legally described as Lot 11, Placita Piedra Grande subdivision located at 4202 North Raul Longoria Road, as requested by Carranza Development LLC. And also the meetings for January the 22nd, 2019, January 24th, 2019.
Is there anything that needs to be modified or amended at this time on the consent agenda?
As far as the meetings, Mayor, if I may, they're using my name with and without an I-E. It's JESS without the I-E, and it's being done in the same, yeah, both ways in the same way. So if that could be corrected, please.
So move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second? Go ahead.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting has been adjourned at 7:44 PM. Thank you.